Welcome to Scoop World Order. Happy Thursday. It is great to be here. Great to have you guys. This is going to be a huge episode because you guys are going to make it one. Big time expansion coming. Is there an NFL model? We've been predicting a lot of smoke coming that direction. Are we going to have an 80 team league? That seems like a lot, but that is something that was projected today by The Athletic. I think it'll be probably closer to 50 teams, but we will see. Talk about how that benefits Ohio State. And what the future of college football looks like. Again, most of these changes I think are hugely beneficial for Ohio State, given the brand, the national recruiting footprint, the NIL dominance. It's been really good for us. So again, our roster construction has never been stronger than it is right now, and I think that it's only going to benefit us going forward. So we're going to get into all the reason why Ohio State will dominate this new era of college football. As always, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys kicking it with us each and every night. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. Let me know what you're doing for the weekend. This is the last weekend before the spring game. Obviously, you guys are all invited April 13th, 9 a.m., Buffalo Wild Wings, corner of Lane and High Street, about 1 mile from the stadium. I will be there bright and early, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to rock in my scoop gear. Wear your scoop gear. I'll buy you a beer. Looking forward to seeing all of you. Our first ever tailgate party. So if you guys blow this thing out and it's awesome, maybe we'll do it a lot. So I'd love to see you guys. Looking forward to meeting a lot of you guys coming from all over the place. It's going to be an outstanding morning with the Buckeye Scoop family. Nevada, the team is about 75% of the way through spring ball. They have practice tomorrow. It'll be kind of a mockish, scrimmage-ish type day. Like tomorrow's actually probably a heavier day than the actual spring game will be, just because this is going to be true ones versus ones. They are doing a lot of load management. A lot of these older guys are practicing less and less as spring ball is winding down. But tomorrow should be a pretty competitive practice. What do you see with the depth of this roster, with Ryan Day's roster management? How will this benefit Ohio State going forward? Should an 80-team Super League form, like some are projecting? A lot of these higher ups in college football are kind of angling towards.
Well, I think what they're trying to solve is some fundamental problems that you have in college football right now. And President Gee, who I like, who you don't like, but I like, at West Virginia called it an existential crisis. That might be a little bit of hyperbole, but I think it's probably close to that, because you've got some fundamental problems right now in a sport where, there needs to be a collective bargaining agreement with the players. There needs to be some sort of revenue sharing. There needs to be some sort of revenue certainty for the teams, to have this become a sustainable model. And I think they're trying to address that through, this 80 league or 80 team super league was proposed by a guy who's a close advocate of Roger Goodell's, as something that might, fit the future needs of college football, where it would be like a super league. You would have relegation. You'd have 70 teams that were kind of charter members of the league that couldn't be relegated out. But then you'd have 10 teams that could kind of come up and down depending on what your level of interest was invested in football. And it was kind of it's an interesting thought, but to me, it wasn't the relevant part of the piece. The relevant piece of this was just that everybody recognizes that the current model of, hey, let's just go out and let's just do NIL to the highest bidder. Let's go through donor fatigue. Let's go through all the issues that come from having a portal. Basically, the portal with unlimited transfers is basically unlimited free agency for every player every time. And if you think about it in terms of any other sport, whether it be the NFL or the NHL or Major League Baseball or any of their favorite sports, and imagine if your teams were constructed where every player had immediate free agency, you'd realize the challenges that would be presented with that. Well, that's what you have in college football right now. And I think they're trying to solve that. I think they're trying to solve it through a structure that allows them to collectively bargain, that allows the players to unionize, that allows them to set some sort of standards regarding wages and wage earnings and things of that sort. So, to me, how close are these things? I mean, these are I mean, at least a decade away, maybe even longer than that. But I think it's a direction that they've got to move. You've got to protect the health of college football. I've said this many times. College football is by far my favorite sport. I'd love it anyway, even if Ohio State wasn't dominating it. But under this structure, new structure, what they have right now, where teams are going to be rewarded that have the revenue, teams are going to be rewarded that have the substantial brands, teams are going to be rewarded that have the solid recruiting bases, teams are going to be rewarded that have the great facilities. Well, Ohio State has all of those things, and so Ohio State's really well positioned to, prosper in not only this current environment, but any future environment that they put down, because it's always going to be we're going to be the New York Yankees, we're going to be the Dodgers, we're going to be one of those teams, maybe those teams that you hate if you're a Major League Baseball fan because they can outspend everybody else and they can do it. But that's who will be in the new college football. That'll keep us always competitive, and I like I said, I'm a little nervous about it, but I'm looking forward to this new reality of college football because I like the way that Ohio State has dominated the. Now we're starting to dominate the NIL era, so I'm excited about whatever the future can bring us.
Yeah, I'm excited about the new era because there's not going to be any more cream puff games. Like you're going to get rid of these games, playing Mercer and Fordham and a lot of the stuff that the SEC is like feasted on at the end of their season, like that Week 11 game where they play some atrocious program a week before their rival game. That's going to go away. It's going to be all good games. Like again, that's why I love how the Big Ten's expanded and added USC and UCLA because you're going to see schools with this new league that frankly never would have gone to certain stadiums. Like, in your wildest dreams, you never would imagine that University of Southern California would go play at like Purdue or like at Indiana or at, like the big dogs. They don't go to those little tiny schools, but now that they're in the league, they have to. So I think that's going to be exciting because even if it's a team you don't care about, a game you don't care about, it's still fun to see a team like Oregon play like at Indiana because like you never would have seen that in normal times until they joined the Big Ten, and I think it's going to become even more pervasive as the ACC gets split up. Obviously, we project Clemson to the SEC, potentially Florida State to the Big Ten. There's a lot of moving targets that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to kind of absorb, which I think is going to be cool. Like, I think it's going to be really fun to see how these leagues end up shaping out, how big they end up getting. I don't know how you get to 80 teams. I don't think that there's 80 equitable teams. I think maybe 50 could do it. 80 seems, that's a lot. I mean, that's the whole ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, the last two in the Pac-12, whatever, the MAC. I mean, get into 80 is going to be tough. But I think some really excited to see how these guys can grow it. And what comes of it. And again, I think that, when you're building a roster the way Ohio State's building a roster where it's deep and it's tough and you've got really good players up and down the board, you're, 8 deep on the D-line. The O-line's got more depth than we've had in the last couple of years. It's going to be exciting, because you're going to need a deep team when you're playing more physical, tough opponents. And that's what really makes it exciting to me. Nevada, I think we all see what's coming here. What do you think, if you were the commissioner of college football, what would be the first 2 or 3 things you would immediately do if all of a sudden they named you the commissioner? Because the one thing that college football does need is a commissioner. There's no commissioner for college football. They don't need to be ruled by the NCAA, which also governs pistol and rifle and sports that just literally have nothing in common from an enormity, a complexity. A lot of the smaller sports are very straightforward to deal with. You get to college football, man. That's a 900-pound gorilla. What would be some things that you would institute if you were named Nevadabuck, the commissioner of college football?
Well, my first act would be to punish Michigan. I would punish Michigan for all their past transgressions, and I would probably put them on some sort of a 10-year probation or something like that, where I'd eliminate football from for 6 years, and then for 4 years after that, I'd make them play with 9 players against other teams or something, just to make up for their rampant cheating and for their disrespect for the rules and stuff like that. But other than that, other things that I would do in my initial tenure as commissioner would, I would, we've talked about the encouragement of unionization. I don't think people really realize how important that is, because it's the only way. Right now you've got a system where, I mean, you basically could buy players for the highest bid. It goes to the highest bidder every time, and you've got to have some sort of uniform set of rules. You've got to have uniform set of rules regarding the draft, when they can go to the draft, how much they can be paid by schools. The schools need some sort of cost certainty. So I would insist upon that there be a collective bargaining agreement negotiated with the players, that was on some sort of equitable revenue sharing basis, that could give the schools cost certainty, that could give the schools some sort of roster certainty to keep this rampant free agency from going. Because I just don't think it's really, I don't think it's good for the game. I don't think it's, frankly, it's good for the players to have unlimited on-demand free agency. And I some people may disagree. So, well, that's, restriction of trade, but I just don't think it's good. I don't think it's good for 18-year-old kids, or 19 or 20 or 21 or whatever it is, to go out there and every time that they're upset about something, or that something doesn't go their way, or that somebody offers them a little bit more money, that they can just leave. I think it kind of destroys the culture of the team. I think it destroys having to build these rosters and having to plan and develop these kids. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed, immediately. I try to go to some sort of balanced schedules, and some sort of things where you have a limited number, so you don't have 8 home games and 4 away. I try to have some sort of thing where you balance that out, and so and some sort of uniform criteria for making the playoffs. Because right now, it's a little bit, wonky the way that things are being done. I do away with this playoff committee. I try to establish some sort of set rules that you knew what you'd have to do, how many quality wins you'd have to get to kind of qualify for a playoff. And I'd get rid of some of the subjectivity that's in college football right now. But but the most important thing would be the punishing Michigan. That'd be the thing that I would address day one immediately. And like I said, I might even give them the death penalty in perpetuity, just because I hate Michigan so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first thing you got to do is you got to wrap up the transfer portal. I'd say kids get one transfer, and that's it, and then they got to sit out a year, and there's no waivers. Like because kids always circumvent this stuff, but um, I think that when the whole team becomes instant free agents when a coach leaves, it's terrible for the sport. I think that there's a lot of kids, like the dark side of the transfer portal is a lot of these kids hit the portal and they end up at Lifetime Fitness, working out and not finding a home. Because some of these guys, they have a lot higher opinions of themselves than the rest of college football does. So there's a lot of kind of a sad undertone with this. And I always tell people, I'm like, look, I talk to people that contemplate going into the transfer portal. I'm like, look, if you are going to go to the transfer portal, you better have it locked in where you're going before you enter it. Like, I mean, there's ways to do that. Go through your high school coach. All these coaches talk to the high school coaches to get feelers and temperatures on kids that might be backups, that might be disgruntled. That's how all this gets done. I mean, there's tampering is insane right now. But I would make sure that I've got like a pretty locked in spot if I hit the portal. And again, you're seeing it in basketball right now where it's just an auction. Like, let's just call it what it is. It's an auction. The good kids, they hit the portal. And again, that's fine, because again, like, we're competitive in that. And I think that, some of these kids deserve to get paid, and some of these kids, especially the Ohio State kids, they get a premium for it. I gotta take some of these super chats because they are starting to stack up. Appreciate you guys as always. The super chats go to pay it forward. And again, they're a huge part of our show because you guys bring hilarious and outstanding questions led by my man Pooh Beard. Always bringing the heat. Pooh Beard 12, thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member. Thank you for the deuce. KB on a heater on X today. Scum fans make it easy. That is not me, but yes, our Twitter account is absolutely going ballistic right now. So our Twitter account is actually it's growing at a really rapid rate. That was something that over about a month ago we decided, hey, well, let's grow our Twitter following, and boy, have we ever. So it has been it's been really fun. The Twitter is we weaponize it, and our guy pulling the trigger is a marksman. He's a sniper. Nevada, your thoughts on our Twitter heater today? I don't even think I've seen anything that we've put on Twitter, but I can't even imagine what is going on there. Again, I don't love Twitter. I spend all my time on BuckeyeScoop.com, and that's why my Twitter account's protected and private, because I don't really use it. I use it to promote our YouTube, and that's kind of it. All my thoughts on BuckeyeScoop.com. But your thoughts, Nevada, on our Twitter heater today, or X as it is now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Twitter, like so we tell you guys every night, we're like, we troll on Twitter. That's what we do. It's the Twitter is the T is for trolling, and we do a lot of that on Twitter, and we generate a lot of engagement, and we get a lot of new people that come onto the site and do stuff. But yeah, and believe it or not, it is not Burt Carton that is the man behind the Twitter guy, and it's a mystery person, but we're not going to tell you who it is because you might know him, and you might know him as one of his other names is the Oracle or the Horseman or somebody, or it could be somebody completely different. We never know. We're never going to reveal our sources there, but I can tell you it is not Burt Carton that is operating the Twitter account because Burke is not nearly as trollific as this person is.
And honestly, thank God, because anytime I could parlay off something like that, that's the thing about our organization is it's really fun, and we've got a lot of people that want to jump on board Buckeye Scoop because they see where we're headed, which is fun. And like again, our organization is like if we give you a task, we say have at it, and we handed it off, and they're going ballistic with it, which I love. And it gives me less work to do. Nevada and I, we're really focused on growing BuckeyeScoop.com, YouTube. Obviously, we run the site. We do the day-to-day stuff. So when you can have someone who's hungry who wants to help out, and we've given a lot of people at bats, and they've hit it out of the park. Like some of the people that Uncle Buck is a guy who's a contributor. Joe Drame's a contributor. Obviously, Bill Greene. Like we've got like a great staff that really grinds and does great work. So it's fun. It's fun to give some people some cracks and watch them take advantage of the opportunity. The Scarlet and Gray podcast. Thank you for the 5. Very strong. Oh God, a very strong source has told me that David Sanders Jr. is a silent to Ohio State. Phew! It is Thirsty Thursday, and maybe we could have you guys on our pod soon. I'd love to. Send me an email, barton.145@gmail.com. I'll jump on with you guys whenever you guys want me. Number 1 class coming at Nevada OH.
I
mean, I know everybody's always pessimistic, especially since we've been like Adam Dunn when it comes to we've been striking out so much with these big time linemen nationally. What are you saying?
Dayton Dragons, Adam Dunn, him and Austin Kearns. Yeah.
Look at you.
Struck out a lot.
Hit a lot of home runs too.
He hit a lot of home runs.
That dude could hit missiles. I mean, I don't make light of a guy who has that kind of major league power, but he can hit a lot. But man, he could hit it out of the yard pretty good too. No, but David Sanders Jr. is like he feels, like an Ohio State kid. I'm sure that we're gonna go crazy with NIL with this guy. I'm sure that he's gonna love meeting Paris Johnson and his mom. If his mom talks to Monica Johnson, like I don't know how he can't want to follow the Monica Johnson, Paris Johnson blueprint. Graduate, first team All-American, should have been a captain, 6th overall pick in the draft. Like that's exactly what you want to do. Wake me when Clemson has a 1st round pick at left tackle. They haven't done it in a long time. Like Clemson doesn't put a lineman in the league. They put Jackson Carman in. He's been a disaster. They don't develop guys the way we do. Their strength program isn't like Mickey Maratti's, especially since they got off the juice. You do remember when their guys all got popped for PEDs during the playoffs, which that was hilarious and obvious.
Osterine.
I know.
Osterine.
Their big fat guys are all on Osterine. That's how they could run like 4.8 40s. Anyways, but it feels right, and maybe I'm just being blindly optimistic. But when it's between us and Clemson and Georgia, obviously Georgia is always going to be competitive. Georgia's the new Bama. Kirby's the best coach in college football right now. Like he's got it going on. So when you're up against those guys, you got to swing out of your heels to land a guy like this. But Kirby's a defensive guy. Ryan Day's an offensive guy. Chip Kelly's an offensive guy. I mean, you look at that staff. I'm like, there's no way I would go to Georgia over Ohio State if I'm David Sanders. And you look at the depth chart. I mean, Josh Simmons. Don't laugh at me. If he has a great year, he can get out of here. Go pro. Fryer's gone. He's a senior. Goner. So you got two wide open tackle spots next year. So the depth chart is A++. Minimum of one gone for sure. Josh Simmons is kind of, he's kind of, he could blow up. I mean, he's a super athlete now. Again, I'm a lot higher on him than everybody else is just because I watch his tape. If he ever would actually like get serious and become a pro, he'd be incredibly good. But he's not that guy yet. And again, that's on, Justin's got to get him going, and Mike Cellini and those guys. Like he's got to turn, the light bulb's got to turn on at some point, because it does for a lot of these guys. When it comes to money time, these guys all of a sudden get a lot more serious about their craft. They get a lot more in the film room, more students of the game. So it's up to him. I mean, he's got the talent. His talent's out of this world. But yeah, if you're David Sanders Jr. and you see Paris Johnson, literally last year go first round, and then you see Dwan, who's, Dwan's going to start for the Browns this year. I mean, they'll probably cut Jack Conklin or move Jed Wills or something, but you can't keep Dwan out of the lineup as good as he was last year. So it's going to be interesting to see where this kid goes. But a silent to Ohio State, that'd be amazing. I don't know if I'd buy that, but it would be amazing. Again, I think that with that kid, man, it's going to be a bidding war. And we've seen these big guys like Samson Okunlowo go from he's from Massachusetts or Jersey or somewhere, and he ends up in Miami. And you see Jordan Seaton end up at Colorado. Like, you see a lot of dumb stuff with the big tackles. Like, you really do. And a lot of it's because of, they're, something stupid like, I want to go play for Coach Prime, or, I want to go to the U and get a bag of money. But I don't know if that's going to develop you the way that going to Ohio State would. Jeremy Moreland, thank you for the 5. I got to get with you after the show because people are blowing me up about your amazing cup. So we got to figure out a way to put these up for sale. But yeah, the Nevadabuck Buckeye Scoop cup is going to be for sale soon. They're very beautiful. It's really sturdy too. I mean, it's obviously metal. It's like inside of it. It's like a little baby Yeti. But it's amazing quality. So those things are going to be hot. Appreciate you, my man. So I'll get with you on that. Thank you for being an Ultra member as well. Thank you for the 5. Shout out to OSHA, the Ohio High School State Athletic Association. Finally, is letting Ohio compete in 7-on-7 football. Your thoughts, please. Nevada OH. Nevada, I'll let you go first. Your thoughts on Ohio being able to play 7-on-7 football finally.
Well, look, I know that there's a lot of nuance to this, and so I'm going to give you just kind of a simplistic view because I'm sure there's some quality posters on our site like VB Coach that talk about the reasons why they shouldn't do it. All I can say is it seems to me that it's an idea whose time has come. I see how effective this is in other states, in California, in Texas, in Florida, and it just seems like there's really limited downside to it and an awful lot of upside in terms of developing skill players and letting guys have another outlet, during the spring in terms of 7-on-7. So, I don't see much downside to this at all. And what'll be interesting for me is to see is what will be the impact on Ohio State, for the state of Ohio for recruiting over it's going to take a while, but maybe over the next 5-10 years, will we see an uptick in terms of skill players and skill development in the state? Because there's been a lot of people that have thought that this is one of the reasons why there's been such a paucity. We went through that whole exercise of, who was the last quarterback Ohio State's taken from, the Columbus area or in-state. And, it's not a lot of guys. We started talking, looking at it and, going, we're obviously we've got Tavian St. Clair, but, going back to, Bobby Hoyne and, Troy Smith and stuff like that. It's not like we're cranking out quarterbacks in the state of Ohio. And maybe maybe there'll be a cause and effect. And that's what I'm hopeful for. I hope we see better skill player development. I know these 7-on-7 are just spectacularly successful in other states. So I'm really excited that Ohio is finally doing it.
Well, I think, Ohio has been left behind from a skill development at the skill positions, versus the rest of the nation. Again, it's not an accident that JJ Smith shows up and he just absolutely dominates at Ohio State. I mean, that kid literally plays football year round. He plays for South Florida Express. And I went down and watched him play in Naples last year in the 7-on-7 tournament the South Florida Express was playing in. And these are really competitive deals. I mean, these guys don't show up, and this isn't just This isn't like they're just playing at the YMCA, like playing rec basketball. Like these guys are like they're out there getting after it, trying to kill each other. They're going hard. A lot of trash talking, a lot of coaching, a lot of heat. And again, I think that is great for the kids that can benefit from it. Now, again, there's nothing that is in that same realm for offensive and defensive linemen. Like they don't have like a one-on-one pass rush, like 7-on-7 tournament or whatever. But like for the skill guys, like for the quarterbacks, I think it's excellent. For the receivers and corners, there's nothing better in the world because these guys are playing. Like JJ Smith has to go see some guy that's going to Alabama or going to Georgia, and they're playing man coverage. I mean, there's no hiding out there, man. You're playing corner, you ain't got no help in 7-on-7. But I think these kids, the biggest benefit to me as they're trying to earn scholarships is I feel like these kids, they get so much more development on the nuances of running routes and deals that when they go to these camps, i.e. like Ohio State football camp, they show up and just dominate everybody because it's just like another day at the park for them. Like it's another weekend tournament in Miami or New Orleans or wherever. It's old hat. And the competition that you see at these 7-on-7, especially the big ones that are in Miami and Vegas, and I mean it's the best players in the country are playing on these 7-on-7 teams. So you go to one of these Ohio State camps, man, you're gonna shred whoever you're going against because they're not gonna be as good as some of the guys you see on these top tier 7-on-7 teams. The South Florida Express is the best team basically of all time in 7-on-7. And again, Ennis, JJ, Amari Cooper, Teddy Bridgewater, first rounders, Geno Smith, guys that have made, millions and millions, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions combined over the years. It's huge. Zay Flowers from the Ravens. I mean, it's crazy. So I think coming to Ohio, obviously there's going to be a big curve for Ohio. I think that, the natural reason as to why some of these high school coaches would be against it is because you are going to have a different coach coaching your kids, and I think some coaches have egos and they don't want some other guy coaching the kids and potentially recruiting and funneling them to different high schools and and whatever. But if a kid's going to change high schools, he's going to do it anyways. If his dad wants to change his high school, he's going to do it anyways. But like I said, I love it. I've watched it. It's competitive. I think, getting these kids off the couch and getting them out running routes is great for their development. They also have to practice a couple times a week too. So again, it's a big buildup of that. And again, like when these guys go in the horseshoe and they're starting as freshmen, like JJ Smith is going to, they're not going to be as nervous because they've played so much football, they've played so much big competition. It's like they've got rhinoceros skin. They're so tough mentally. And that's how Ennis is. That's how Tate is. JJ, obviously. JJ's not scared of anybody. Not scared of Denzel or Caleb Downs. I mean, he's gone against the best guys in the country for the last 4 years of his life. So again, I think in 7-on-7, I think you actually see better quality opponents than you do in actual high school football. Because not every team, if you're JJ and you're at Chaminade Madonna High School in Miami, like you're not always going to see an SEC cornerback every week. When you're in these 7-on-7s, like when you play those really good teams, you're going to see SEC corners basically every game. So I think it's a huge edge. And again, it's so technique driven because there's no pads on, so you can't get away with some stuff like you can if you have the pads on. So it's really it's a game that's about speed and technique, and I think it'll be great for Ohio kids. It'll be interesting to see how it works because a lot of these obviously in Ohio in the winter it snows, it's cold. So you can't have these outdoor tournaments like you can in Florida, where they're practicing and playing December, January. Up here, it's going to be snowing, so that'll be interesting to see how it works. I'm sure that some Ohio teams will travel south for some of the big tournaments, but there's also a huge cost to bringing 25 kids, and putting them up in a hotel, feeding them 3 meals a day. Like it's a big endeavor to do, and you need a lot of muscle and willpower to do it. So be interesting to see what happens with it. But I'm excited for it, and I think it's great for the state of Ohio and the skill development of the skill kids and quarterbacks in the state. Buck Nasty, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. Massive. Oh, thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member as well. Massive, which is our word, is officially the word of Buckeye Scoop, and I'm going to put that on everything that I own now. Massive trolling on X. Love it. Has the people situation been taken care of? Nevada OH.
I owe.
I assume you mean the NIL situation. I don't believe so. But I also don't, I haven't checked, so I can check on that. It's not, again, I don't care because it's not my money and I'm not pocket watching and I didn't have anything to do with it. But I know that was something that was, a snafu. And again, that's part of this NIL stuff is like, when guys get promised stuff and they don't get it, like there's someone's, it's gotta come out with somebody. You can't lie to these kids either because that's the worst thing you can ever do. So I do not know. I know Nevada doesn't know because he doesn't really live in that world the way I do. So I'll move on, but I'll check on that and I'll see if I can get you an answer for tomorrow's show. Larry Daniels, 1. Thank you for being an Ultra member. Also, thank you for the 10. The spring game, we'll tell more. But do you see any missing pieces in offense, defense, or coaching staff? Very optimistic. Nevada, I'll let you go first on this one. Your thoughts. Do you see any missing pieces on offense, defense, or the coaching staff?
I mean, no missing pieces at all. The only question is, are there little tweaks and enhancements we could do to improve positions? And look, you can always improve. You could always, yeah, we could add an All-American at right tackle and slide Fryer into guard or something like that. But the big question marks that I had coming into the spring were about linebacker and were about offensive line. And I think the linebacker questions are being answered, and I think the answer to the question might very well be C.J. Hicks, and that wouldn't have been my guess at the beginning of the year. If you said who's your guess, what's the answer for the linebacker position? I probably would have been saying Sonny Styles, but it's probably a C.J. Hicks style. That's not to say that Sonny's fallen behind or not doing well, but C.J.'s really emerging and really playing well, and they like him a lot. They're trying to do some different things with Sonny to keep him on the field. They're going to a lot of 3 linebacker looks, but you cannot have enough capable linebackers. And when you can have guys like Arvell Reese and Gabe Powers pushing guys like CJ and Sonny, and obviously you've got Cody Simon in there, who's kind of a stalwart. I think we've answered the linebacker problem. And on the offensive line, it's funny because somebody put on our site, they're like, "Oh, I heard on some other site that the offensive line's a mess or that it hasn't looked good." And I'm just telling you, I'm getting completely different reports than that. I'm getting the offensive line looks way better than it did last year at this point in time. That we've got a bunch of guys competing. That the nuance that Chip Kelly's adding to the offense is really helping them do a lot of things. So we've got some fierce competitive battles. We don't have the answers yet because I think that they've been trying so many different line combinations that really revolve around can they move Fryer inside because Josh wants to be a guard because he believes he's going to play guard at the next level, or is Josh most valuable to us at right tackle? But I think that's really the only question that we have that's still yet to be answered. But we've got a lot of solutions to that, a lot of quality there. I mean, maybe our biggest need is place kicker. Because Fielding, I know he's returning and he was capable last year, but other than when your biggest question is field goal kicking and the tight ends coach, I think we're in pretty good hands and we're well positioned even as we've been adding guys in terms of quality control guys and analyst guys because we're pretty confident effective June 1st those guys are going to be able to do on-field coaching, and if that goes through, Ohio State is really positioned to be able to, expand their coaching staffs, and they've already got quality guys online that can really help out. And so, no, there's just not a lot of. We didn't go into a lot of questions, but we're leaving with even fewer, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that you look at our the missing pieces on offense. I think finding a bona fide tight end. I think G. Scott's just the guy. He's probably not going to get drafted next year, but I think if Jelani can step in and do it. But I don't know if Jelani has that dog in him yet. I think he's still a little gun shy. I still think he's got the bright eyes a little bit too much. Don't know how ambitious he is as a blocker. On film in high school, he's a dominant blocker, but can he really hold up against a guy like Jack or JT? Because those are the kinds of guys you have to block when you play, Georgia and like the big dogs that you're going to see in the playoffs. But Jelani's the guy that can do it. So it's going to be interesting to see. The Kazimierz guy, I think, is just a guy, maybe a little bit more than a guy. But you got to get a guy who's a difference maker at tight end like we had with Cade last year. That's a huge issue. O-line, I think we're going to be fine. I think that for me, can Luke Montgomery handle the big heavy guys in the middle? Because obviously he's an athlete, but again, Carson as a second year, Carson Hinsman last year as a second year guy, he struggled because he wasn't very strong. I mean, he's a second year guy, and when you're a second year guy, man, you're just generally you're 19 years old. You're not really strong enough to play college football versus men versus guys that are 22, 23 years old. Like that's a huge difference. And people that haven't played it, they don't understand how much bigger and stronger you get as you go, how much more confident you get as you go. So I can see Luke struggling, and I mean, this fan base will turn on him. I've seen this movie before a million times, just because he's going to be the guy. He's going to be learning on the job. He's never played guard before. He gave up a safety in Student Appreciation Day when Cade McDonald put him on his butt and ran him over. And again, that's just part of growing and becoming a better player. Luke's the guy that probably should have redshirted last year, but they want to get these guys all on the field just so that they don't get butt hurt. But he didn't really need to play last year in the Bison thing where he played 2 plays a game. Like, it's kind of stupid, but it's just my thought. So it'll be interesting to see, can he hold down the inside, or can George Fitzpatrick pass block well enough to play right tackle? Because I think George Fitzpatrick is the number 3 tackle right now over Tigra, based on what I've been told, just because Tigra flat out can't pass protect at a high level. Caden Curry has really, really gotten the best of him during spring, as has Kenyatta. I think it's something against Tigra, but I really think he's a guard. And sometimes when guys are heavy-footed and they're slow, it's hard for him to protect versus a really good pass rusher. And I think Caden Curry is an excellent pass rusher, and I think he's going to have a big role this year as well. So, figuring out that third tackle, I think it's Fitzpatrick right now, just because he looks light on his feet, getting stronger. Like, he's not as fluid. No one's as fluid as Josh Simmons. Josh Simmons is probably the best athlete on the O-line right now. But, if something happens to him or Josh Fryer, like, who's the next guy in? And I would guess it's George Fitzpatrick. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out the rest of the way. Interior pass rush is something I'm interested about. And really, like, just the totality of the pass rush. Like, our ends going to cut it loose. Can Jack Sawyer continue, to keep that torrid, explosive pace that he had at the end of last year, where he was the best player on the field in the Missouri game? Really came on towards the end, because if he keeps that last 4 or 5 game pace up, I mean, he's got double-digit sacks. He's got 12, 13 sacks for the year, and he's a first-team All-American. So I think that coaching staff-wise, this is the best staff we've had at Ohio State, maybe ever, especially adding Tim Drevno. Again, Tim Drevno is a fantastic line coach. I mean, this is a guy that I don't think people realize, like, when the 49ers had the best offensive line in the National Football League, when Jim Harbaugh was their coach and they went to the Super Bowl, they lost Ray Lewis's last game with the Ravens. Like, that line was incredible. They were the best line by a mile, and he was the line coach. And I give Harbaugh a lot of credit, because I think Jim Harbaugh is one of the best offensive line proponents and coaches in all of football. And he had Drevno at Stanford when Stanford used to be incredible on the O-line. And then he also had him at San Francisco in the first few years at Michigan. Now, he's not an offensive coordinator. That's where a lot like Greg Studwara, when Greg Studwara was at LSU and they promoted him to OC, like, that was kind of his undoing. But if you just have him as a straight line coach, he's really good. So I think that adding Tim Drevno, especially if they lift the cap on accountable coaches and they allow these analysts to be full-time coaches, that is a monstrous hire. Like, I can't stress that enough. Having a second high caliber, big time offensive line coach on your staff along with Justin Fry is an amazing get by Ryan Day, and kudos to Chip Kelly for getting that done. Because again, like, having 2 line coaches, that's what every NFL team has. They all have 2. There's got to be a lead dog, which will be Justin Fry, and then you got to have the assistant who can help out, because you got like 20 guys you got to coach in that room, dude. So having 2 guys plus a GA, that's a lot more fitting than just having one guy in a GA, in my opinion. And Tim Drevno, the beauty of him is he knows Chip Kelly's offense. Like, he replaced Justin Fry when Justin came to Ohio State. So he doesn't have to do a bunch of relearning and refitting. Carlos Loughlin has to learn everything from scratch, because he has no correlation or connections to Ohio State at all in terms of the coaching staff. But Tim Drevno, knowing Chip Kelly's offense from last year, I mean, he can walk right in and start coaching. He doesn't have to sit back with his hands in his pockets like Carlos Loughlin's going to have to do a little bit at the start of this deal. But great question, Larry. Again, I appreciate you as always. Jojo 4312, thank you for the deuce. Would a salad crap work and don't pay for freshmen? I do not know what that
Salary
means. A
salary
salad,
cap.
a salad, a salary cap, a salad crap. I was like, okay, a salary, a salary cap work, and don't pay for freshmen. I I don't know. I don't think it would. I mean, I don't think a salary cap's fair, to be honest with you. Now again, maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I like the free market too much, but I think how can you put a cap on what guys can earn? I don't think that it's fair to have an equal distribution for everybody when some guys like JJ Smith are worth 100 times what the bottom of the roster guys are. Like I'm fine with a guy like JJ getting paid way more than everybody else because that's what his value is.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
let me just ask you a question on that. So
good.
you don't like the NFL? You don't like the fact that the NFL has a salary cap?
Well, no, I like that the NFL does because again, the NFL, they're not guys are making $60 million, in 1 year. Like Mahomes is making $55 million, whatever his deal. So it's like that's a whole different ball of wax because there's revenue sharing and the numbers are just so much greater. Like in college, like if JJ might be making, I don't even think he's making $1 million this year, which again, it's a ton of money. It's a crap ton of money, but the numbers are just so much smaller. Like I know what Caleb Downs got paid. I know what JJ got
Yeah,
paid.
yeah, but you don't think
Good.
it would make it more competitive if you had? I mean, whatever the number would, for because remember in college you've got an 85-man roster or whatever it is, and if if it's $60 million to spread over 85 guys or something like that, you don't think that would add some sort of stability or some sort of sanity to what's going on in college football right now?
No, because then you just go back to the bagman stuff, in my opinion.
Oh,
And again, I
okay.
also think that here's the thing: the difference between the NFL and the difference between college. Obviously, there's a lot of differences, but like there's no revenue sharing in college right now between the players and the universities and the TV deals and all that. But in the NFL, like Odell Beckham is one of the highest paid players in the league, and it's not because of his NFL salary; it's because of his off the field endorsement. So if we're capping stuff, are we talking about? I don't know how you cap just straight NIL, like AKA money coming from like the foundation to a player versus capping what a kid could potentially get like on an off the field deal, or like again,
Well,
that's where go ahead.
well, but I don't think that stuff would be capped. I think it's just, I mean, the whole idea is that there'd be a commissioner. The reason that NFL teams don't cheat is because if they cheated and they went outside the thing and did that, that the commissioner could like sanction them back to the Stone Age. And I think you have to. That's the thing that'll eliminate the bag man. What eliminate the bag man is fear of repercussion. People don't act appropriately because they're inherently good or because they're inherently like to color within the lines or they like to do the right thing. They do it because of fear of reprisal. And I think if you had a strong commissioner, so not a less strong NCAA, and you had somebody that had the absolute power, that said, "Look, you can go to the bagman, but if you cheat, and I find out that you cheated, whether you're turned in by a kid, so you're going to want to put your livelihood in the hand of some kid who could become disenchanted and turn on you and say, hey, they arranged the Elephant Club to pay me $1 million under the table to circumvent the thing. I will sanction you back and put you, 5 years under the death penalty." I don't think people will do it then. Certainly not as much. So I know people are afraid of, the olden days or the stuff, but I think if you had a strong commissioner, I think 99% of those fears would go away. But that's just my humble opinion.
No, I mean, like I said, I don't know. I don't think a cap would work. And again, I'd like a cap in like the NFL, but like as long as it doesn't cap what these guys can make off the field. But the problem is like I think most of the money that these guys make is like off the field brand deals. Like when you look at like what these girls like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and DJ Burns, the big fat guy from NC State, like he's getting a deal from like TurboTax and he's getting a deal from like Cane's Chicken Tenders. Like I assume that when you say that there's no cap, that you're not capping that, correct?
Well, no, you can never cap that. But I mean, that's just that is the free market in action. This is just the amount of money that you could get from whatever the member school or institution is that you're playing for.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that that's obviously they're going to have to do that, or else you're going to have three teams that have more money than everybody else. So, but again, they got to get to revenue sharing first, which is going to take 10 years probably. So, I think
Yep.
it eventually could work, and it's just going to be the NFL basically. And in terms of don't pay for freshmen, I just I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, we pay JJ Smith, and I'm happy about it. I'm good with it. I'd rather pay for JJ Smith than a new lacrosse field because I don't get any joy out of a new lacrosse field. But getting JJ Smith uh, is very, very wonderful for the goodness of the Buckeyes. Colin 14 all day. Thank you for the due. Sonny Styles, linebacker slash end, not a safety. Was this a big miss? I don't know. I think Sonny obviously has to get better. I thought playing safety was something he had to do out of necessity to help the team. He's way too big to be a safety, in my opinion. And he also like reclassified. I mean, he came in a year early, which is that's insane when I think about that. But it was a decision they made. Quinn Ewers did the same thing where he gave up a senior year of high school and came to Ohio State a year early. I mean, if you're mature enough, you can do it. Obviously, with Sonny, he's from Pickerington, so his folks live right down the way. And Lorenzo obviously is NFL player, played for the Rams, greatest show on turf. So he's a mature kid. But again, I think that's tough on the development because when you come in and play as a freshman, but you're only an 18, you're like a 17, 18-year-old, like a high school senior, like that's tall cotton, like that's tough to do. So I don't think he's a miss, but he's only the age of like Caleb Downs. He's really like a true sophomore, in terms of his body age. So I don't know. Well, like I think this is a big year for Sonny. CJ Hicks is balling. CJ Hicks is one of the best players on defense so far during spring camp. So, I mean that's going to be the spot he's going to be at. And is there a time where they rotate him? They have him and CJ on the field at the same time outside of the three linebacker? Like maybe. Cody Simon has been dinged up in the past. I hope Cody can have a nice, healthy last final year. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with Sonny. I think the more you can have Sonny attacking and blitzing, just like CJ, the better off we are. I think that's his strength. I think that he has to continually work on his instincts and learning the game. But the kid's got every tool known to God and man. So it's all on Sonny at this point. Nevada, your thoughts? Sonny Styles, linebacker slash GN, not a safety. Was he a big miss?
Yeah, no, I like you said, he's got to be attacking. He's just better going forward. He's better with his hand on the dirt. That's what he is. But I think the mistake for a lot of these kids is the reclassify. I don't like reclassifying, and it's simply because I think that your senior year in high school it's a great time. I mean, it's a great time to be alive. I think a lot of people look back on that as some of the best time in their life. And this whole rush towards professionalization, rush towards the next level, whatever what's beyond the next mountain. I'm not a fan of that. I believe in development. I think Sonny probably would have been well served by maybe one more year in high school. But that's just my personal opinion because again, he's got an abundance of gifts. He's certainly going to. They're going to find a spot for him. They're going to figure it out, and he'll figure it out here at Ohio State, or they'll figure it out at the next level. But he's a terrific football player. They just got to get him in the right spot. But I think reclassifying with him was a mistake. I do. I would have had him play one more year in high school, coming into college a little bit more, a little more mature. Maybe they have a little bit more refinement regarding his game and get him situated properly. But he's best coming forward. And the good news is Ohio State knows that, and they're deploying him accordingly.
I totally agree. Like I think it's and like the funny thing, it's like with Quinn Ewers. Like Quinn Ewers reclassified, and he still ended up staying 4 years of college. So I don't know. It's a big jump to go to college, man. It was a huge jump. But Sonny played a little bit as a freshman, but is it better to dominate your senior year of high school and be with your boys, or is it better to be kind of a role player as a true freshman who's underaged? I don't know. C Brown, thanks for the deuce. This is a blast from the past. How did the Clemson linebacker get away with grabbing nuts? This might be the most unique question I think I've ever seen on the show, so I appreciate that. Maybe I guess the ref didn't see it. The old adage. Again, he should have been thrown out of the game for doing something that stupid. But stuff happens under the pile. I mean, it's not my thing. I mean, I think it's a little fruity if you're grabbing another man's balls, but it's just my opinion. but he got away with it. You know, and I think that was the game where they beat us in 19. So um, unless it was I don't know if it was 19 or if it was the one in 16 where we got housed. But I'm not sure. Nevada, how did the Clemson linebacker get away with grabbing nuts?
Yeah, I think, like you said, they didn't get seen. And you got to understand, there was a notorious nut grabbing team in the Big Ten for years, and that was Northwestern. Northwestern was like the nut grabbing bunch, and that was one. I mean, hey, you lived through it. You know that Tressel always had a special place in his heart for laying it on Northwestern and smacking those guys around. And I think I had always heard that the nut grabbing was part of the reason he didn't like them as much. And so I don't know. Maybe you can confirm or deny that, or if you guys ever had those nut grabbing discussions in the big game before he played Northwestern, when you guys would lay him out 55-0 or whatever it was.
I've literally never heard of that, and I've never had my nuts. I never had my nuts grabbed because I would have been ejected. I'd have lost my mind. So I would have been off my. I mean, I was playing those games off my medication, man. So if someone grabbed my nuts, man, I'd have been. What's wrong? What is wrong with this guy? It's like I told you. Joel Penton cheap shot at me one time in practice, and like I went absolutely ballistic. And then like I'll never forget Jim Bowman asked why I was such an a-hole. And I was like, did you see what he did to me? Like, do you see it? Because I don't react like that. I mean, again, I was always on edge. Like I was always on tilt. Like, I mean, when I was out there, man, I didn't play. I wasn't there to cut deals. I wasn't there to play games. I was there to like wreck guys' lives. And like he did that, man. And TJ remembers it because I mean, I didn't act like that. Like I didn't act like a lunatic. But when someone does something like that, then it's a whole different ball of wax because he sucked. And I used to just launch him into orbit every time I went against him. And so he jacked me in the back when I was walking away after the play one time, and I lost my shit, boy, and it was good. I mean, I was off the chain. And again, I told Bowles, and like Jim Haycock said something to me too when I got a fight with Brandon Mopp in my like second year, and he asked me the same thing. He's like, "Why are you such an a-hole?" And I was like, "Your guy swung first." And I literally said, "Go watch the film." And again, because like I'm not being disrespectful, but like you're not gonna try me and get away with it. Because again, I never swung first. But I'm not going to put up with that ever, And again, it was always because they were getting mauled, like they're getting wrecked, like their souls are getting like stolen out of their bodies by me and usually TJ or whoever my right guard was. TJ was he was my backup my first year, so it wasn't him, it was Mike Nee. But when I bury these guys, man, like they get upset because they would look like trash and they knew they were going to get ripped on film. You guys, David Patterson about it. Those guys knew when I was out there, man. I wasn't playing. And David talked about it. I got a great soundbite from David, man. He's like, man, I used to hate going against you because you finished every block and you'd bam us and you would look terrible on film. And then Jim Haycock would just, roast us over like the open fire. Like, cause I mean, you could hear Haycock screaming from down the hallway when we'd bang his guys good. So, I was a pleasure in that. I like that. Pooh Beard 12. Thank you for making a scoop. Also remember, thank you for the 10. What number is more staggering? The weight/BMI minimum for the OSU beat or the IQ maximum for the scum beat? Ooh. I'm guessing the Scoop X account is run by Funky. That kid can do it all. Nevada, OH.
I-O. Oh,
Funky,
no,
Funky is the crowd favorite, man. That AI bot we got, that AI bot Funky.
I can't believe people think that was actually a different person. That was April's Fool joke. That was Nevadabuck talking to an AI voice transformer, man. Like you guys.
Yeah, you're like T-Pain.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God, Funky did great, man. I mean, you got to do like your Funky. You got to call him Sonny Styles, and he was on tilt, man. It was great.
Well, Funky can't be drinking before these shows, man. Funky cannot start drinking before the shows.
No, he needs to because that'll get him on point, man. That'll get him lubed up a little bit. Sometimes, man, you got that happy hour's a little too happy. You got to hit that 7:00 show. You're like, that cold shower ain't gonna save you. Sometimes, man. It's like, Kirk, stop. No, I can't. Did you pick one, Nevada? The weight BMI minimum for the OSU beat, or the IQ maximum for the scum beat?
Yeah, the beat really is. It's just you'd like to have some guys on that have played the game or they have some experience or something, but it's it's really, there was a question we had yesterday about some of the quality questions that the beat was kind of hitting the OSU players and coaches with, and I just cringe every time I hear these guys talk about where's the last time you went out to dinner and where did you go and did you and the wife last movie you've seen, and I'm like, guys, that's the questions. You have this great opportunity to ask these great football minds questions, and that's what you guys come up with, and it's just it's a clown show. It's embarrassing. I'm just glad that we're not part of that. Because
Oh
like
God.
the OSU beat embarrass themselves every single day, and I'm glad I'm glad I don't have to live that life.
Whew. Yeah, I mean, God bless them. It's like being a
Yeah.
VHS. It's like being a VHS machine salesman, encyclopedia salesman. That's about the relevancy at this point. Sean Rollins, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, brother. The King of Worcester. Thank you for being an Ultra member as well. If you were MJ, would you pull your logo from that team up north jersey when they got hammered? That is a very, very good question. It'd be interesting to see how that affects it. Jordan kind of colored outside the lines a little bit in his career, so I think he'll be fine with it. I would, but they'll probably just put Travis Scott's logo on instead. I was kind of disappointed. Ohio State, of course, says Ohio State is run by the most boring human beings on earth. We did not do the Travis Scott collaboration that Michigan did, Texas did, LSU did. Basically, every cool college in the entire country did the Nike times Travis Scott thing. Not Ohio State though. We would not agree to do it, of course. But Travis Scott's like the hottest name in pop culture. He's a rapper. For those of you guys that don't know who he is, but he's done like this world tour with Michael Rubin, the guy that owns Fanatics, and the gear is sick. He was at LSU, he was at Texas, he's going to Michigan. But Ohio State said, no, we can't do that because heaven forbid we want to be cool for all of the young kids that like Travis Scott, aka every fast football player in the entire country. So it is what it is. Nevada, if you were Michael Jordan, would you pull your logo from Michigan when they get hammered?
Yeah, if I were, yeah, I would. But do I think Michael Jordan will? No. Like you said, Michael's always. I don't think he's really that concerned about stuff like that. I think he's like you said, he liked to play it fast and loose when he was out there. It's a good thing that Michael Jordan didn't live during a time of social media and other things like that, because I don't believe that the Jordan brand would be nearly as squeaky clean as it is right now. So no, I don't think he'll do it. But I would, if I was Michael Jordan, yeah, I would strip that thing off and make him. I'm not sure what I'd make him. Make him wear like Skechers or something like that during the time, like the slip-ons, the one that Howie Long puts on all the time. Those look pretty cool. You don't have to bend over to put your if you're like you don't have to bend over to put your shoes on all the time. I mean, come on, that could be a benefit. You're on mute, Mr. Barton.
Apologize. Thank you for helping me, Nevada. So if you go to fanatics.com, like Cactus Jack is like Travis Scott's like apparel brand. So him and Michael Rubin are kind of barnstorming the country. And like this stuff is just like grotesquely expensive, like to the point where it's almost insane. But like Boston University, Michigan, again, a hat is $58, which is insane. A t-shirt is $78, which is insane. Sweatpants, $140. Again, insane. But like Wisconsin did it, Bama did it, Oregon did it, Oklahoma did it, Georgia did it, Florida State did it. Basically, every school in the entire world did it except for Ohio State because we're stupid. So again, it just drives me nuts because people would buy like an OSU because Travis Scott is like he's not Taylor Swift, no one's Taylor Swift, but like for pop culture, like urban for rap, like he's kind of the guy right now. His shoes, he has a collaboration with Jordan and Nike, and they sell out like instantly. So, and again, the stuff it kind of looks stupid, but it is grossly overpriced. But it's just something that Ohio State said, nah, we don't want to be cool. Why would we ever want to do that? But like Miami, like Tulane did it for God's sakes. But Ohio State said, nah, we don't want to do that. We'll just let everybody else do it. But again, I think the stuff's ugly, but it is, and it's also insanely expensive. But it'll all sell out like instantly. Bama did it. Cal, Clemson, Florida State, Georgia, LSU, Miami, Michigan State, Michigan, Northeastern, Oregon, Penn State. like Ohio State is like USC, Wisconsin, UCLA. Ohio State's like the only school that didn't do it, which is just so on brand for Ohio State. Like, why would we not want to do the Travis Scott collab? Because we're stupid and our branding people are morons. That's why. Anyways, off my soapbox. Luke Nicely, thank you for the deuce. Tight end, lots of talent, easier replacing Key or Cade. Ooh. Is that a trick question? Nevada, I'll let you take this one first. Is it easier to replace Keenan Bailey or Cade Stover?
Yeah. Like I said, I don't want to bang on Keenan Bailey too much because I don't want it to be like the. I know it seems like we've got something on Keenan Bailey, and I really don't. I want him to be great. I really do. I want him to be awesome. I want Ohio State to win every game, and I want him to win Recruiter of the Year and Coach of the Year, and go on to be on the pantheon of great coaches. I really sincerely mean that. Um, but no, we have some tight end questions right now. I do think Jelani Thurman is the answer to those questions, though. I'm a little bit more optimistic than Kirk is about Jelani and Jelani's development, but he's a guy we need to be good because G. Scott is just the guy in my opinion, and Jelani's not. Jelani is from Megatron, and we need him to play every play like he's from Megatron, and I think he's capable of doing it. And I think I'm seeing glimpses, the lights coming on, and I'm hopeful he's the answer to that question this year.
Yeah, I mean, I do love that people picked up on calling Keenan Bailey Glass Joe because that is pretty funny. We have people on our message board calling him Glass Joe now from the original Punch Out. He's like the first guy you fight. He's 1-99 with 1 KO. So, but Keenan's just 0 for 1 right now. But they're both 110 pounds. Like they're from Paris, France. Glass Joe. Yeah, I mean, replacing Keenan Bailey would be easy. You could put Tim Drevno in there tonight, and I think the staff would be completely upgraded. But that's just my opinion. Let's see. Donald and Karen Rossbeck, thank you for the 20. Thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member. It is Thursday night and Michigan still sucks. I totally agree. Nevada had a rough day today. It would make me happy to hear you disparage Michigan, please. Nevada OH.
I-O.
Nevada hates Michigan. He is not like me, who wants Michigan to always be good so we can beat them, and it means more. You roll your eyes when I say that, but hey, I'm honest. Go ahead, disparage Michigan, Nevada, knock yourself out.
Well, I just think the delusion of Michigan fans, the thinking that something's not going to happen to them, it will never not be funny to me because they do. They live in this alternate universe where they're like, "Hey, we haven't heard about the Michigan sanctions in a couple of weeks, so maybe everybody's forgotten about it." I'm like, guys, they're still adjudicating your punishment for stuff that you did during COVID. I mean, remember how long COVID? That was like 4 years ago. And so, look, these things take time. It's a complex, wide-reaching scandal, the biggest cheating scandal in the history of on-field cheating scandal in the history of college football, and it's going to take a little bit of time. But hey, enjoy your delusion because the hammer of Thor is coming soon, and when it does, we're just that is going to be the best podcast that we ever do. Will be the night that the NCAA drops the hammer on Michigan, and we're all going to laugh at all the delusion of the Michigan fans together because they're all really, really dumb. And no, I don't want them to ever be good. I want them to lose every game by 99 points and be 0-11 when they play us every year because I don't want them to ever be happy.
Their fans are douchebags. I will give you that. They're the biggest douchebags I've ever been around. And I mean, like Rich Eisen is a total douchebag, total douche canoe. Schefter's a douchebag. Like I said, I see Michigan stuff all over the place. So right, is gonna fix that again. Like it's nothing but bad until we get rid of the Michigan fans. So we had them gone for a long time, but it's like Ghostbusters. It was like the last 3 years, like Ryan Day is like in Ghostbusters, one where the guy comes in and he turns the power off in the fire station, and all the ghosts come flying out everywhere. Like that's kind of what it's like right now. Because we had the ghosts in the containment unit for a long time. Now all of a sudden, like Ryan Day's let him come out, so he's got to fix that like ASAP. Geodit, thank you for the 10. Geodit 42, appreciate you, my man. With the wide receiver room the way it is, it might be time for Jaden Ballard to seek greener pastures, so to speak. JJ will have a huge part of our top four as receivers leaving. JB, the odd man out yet again. I don't know what to make of Jaden Ballard. Um, God bless. I mean, we were going to play Georgia like 2 years ago when he was a true sophomore, and during bowl practice they were doing all kinds of stuff with Jaden. I mean, they were giving him the ball in reverses, and because Jaden can run, but for whatever reason the coaches don't trust him. They just don't. So I mean, you guys can people say, "Oh, I'm being a hater," but like I can read tea leaves better than everybody else on the beat combined times 1,000. So he's a kid. I've known his dad. I mean, me and his dad went to school in eighth grade together before he transferred to Massillon. I've known Jamal Ballard for a long time. But I don't know. I mean, Jaden is he's a gimmicky, over the top guy, but is he better than Ennis or Tate? Or he's definitely not better than JJ. Definitely not better than Tate. Brandon Ennis has been down with an injury for the last month or last week or so. So that he's trying to get back as quick as he can. And obviously not as good as Mecca. So, there's not much sand left in the hourglass for Jaden. And, this is like that classic JMO. Like JMO would have been the number 4 guy if he would have stayed, which is crazy to say given how he almost won the Blitnikoff his 1 year at Bama. But him transferring changed his entire life when he went to Bama and he was their number 1 guy. And he balled out. So sometimes you got to bet on yourself. So Jaden's going to have that thought. And again, I know that he doesn't want to leave. I know that he's a Buckeye, but at some point you got to go play somewhere if you want to continue on. And like this year he didn't work out. Last year he worked out at Pro Day. This year he did not work out at Pro Day, which was kind of peculiar to me. But I think it's going to be real interesting to see what he does. Nevada. Your thoughts on Jaden Ballard? Because, like, again, he got to return some kicks last year. He gave me a heart attack about every time he was back there because he'd catch it, like, over his head. And he just never was, like, super, super smooth with it. Snagged him, which is fine. But do you see Jaden Ballard on this roster come September?
I mean, look, I just think he's just behind some really talented players right now. And the room's not getting less talented; it's becoming more talented. So, do I see him on the roster come? That's going to be a personal decision. Do I think it's going to be because he's going to found a place to play? I really don't. He might want to stick it out and get that OSU degree. Just see some bit time and do some things because he just doesn't want to make a change. And I get that, but I'm just not sure there's a spot for him. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope that he comes on and has an unbelievable year and catches 15 touchdown passes, and we all laugh about how wrong Nevada and Kirk were about Jaden Ballard. But I haven't heard or seen anything that would lead me to believe that he's going to make an impact. Just because we have so much talent in the wide receiver room, and I just think it's a numbers game right now.
Yeah, I agree. Devin, what is up, brother? Appreciate you being holding it down with the wrench. Thanks for being an Ultra member as well. Thank you for the 50, brother. Hope to see you soon. What's up, fellas? Appreciate you, Kirk in Nevada. What's up, family in the chat? Buckeyes have built enough momentum to carry them through the 2025 Natty. Any updates on Scum? Nevada, please go on a rant about how low Scum is. That seems to be very popular. 24-25 Natty lock. Nevada OH.
I-O.
Well, Nevada, any update on Scum? And do you have another rant left in you somewhere in your body?
I always have rants for Michigan left. I could do that for days, but no updates. What I've been waiting on is we had a big update the last time that the NCAA updated the Big Ten. Hint, hint. So we basically, at that point, generally get some updates. And at that point, the NCAA had expanded the investigation. They were going through the re-interview process. They'd appointed another couple of investigators to the case. It was also indicated that they had kept the 2 cases separate. The first one that Michigan the cheeseburger incident that had been Michigan had just responded to that, and that the second level 1 violation did trigger the repeat offender status. So that was a pretty major update from the NCAA to the Big Ten. We should have more probably the next 10 days to 14 days, and but I don't have anything beyond that. As for Michigan, yeah, I love the fact that their fans. I wonder, was it worth it? I know that they were getting beaten into oblivion, and they felt like they had to do something to turn it around, and the cheating and the whole thing, and they got the tainted, soon to be vacated national championship from last year. But I wonder, was it worth destroying the brand? Was it worth losing all your staff? Was it worth not having any future as a really significant football program going forward? I mean, for me as an Ohio State fan, that would not be worth it. I'm always forward thinking. I'm always forward looking, and I'm so excited about the 2024 season and the idea that it's kind of like waiting for dad to get home. Somebody had used the analogy on the board about like when your dad's like on a business trip and your mom says, "I told him what you did, and when he gets home, he's going to deal with you." And you just got the sword of Damocles hanging over your head, and you're waiting for that tick tock of the thing waiting there. That's how Michigan fans have to be feeling right now, and it's got to suck. But hey, I'm glad because I don't like Michigan, and Daddy's
Yeah,
coming home soon.
I know. It's gonna be like God, what was that Family Guy thing you sent the one time when the guy he lost a bet, he didn't pay you, and it was like he was like beating him down. It was like Stewie.
Here's
It was like
Stewie. Yes.
Stewie like beating the tar out of the guy that didn't pay the bet. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it's gonna be like. It's gonna be like when Stewie, the guy owed him money and Stewie beat him down.
Beat up Brian. Yeah.
God bless Stewie. Get another super chat. Oh, I like this. Beach Buck, thank you for the 10. Can we coin the phrases stallioned, meaning a cheater whose actions result in the ruin for their team, company, or state, similar to Munsoned from Kingpin?
Oh, I like it.
I like that a lot. Stallioned. I like that. Munsoned. You got Munson in the middle of nowhere. Kingpin is a supremely underrated movie. That is a hilarious movie. God, Bill Murray is such a genius. Woody Harrelson's good in that too. I like that stallion, meaning someone who cheats and it causes ruin for basically everyone around him. I think that's excellent. Great call on that, Beach Buck. Nevada, do you like stallioned?
I do, and again, what's great is that you think the Michigan fans would be mad at him or angry with him, or no, they revere the guy. They think he was like the one innocent man that got railroaded in this whole thing, and it's amazing to me that you had one guy that did that much damage that brought the program to disgrace, and they don't see it. They don't see it at all. They don't see that they got stallioned. See, I just used it in a sentence right there.
I think it's just because they're so delusional and they sucked for so long. So I mean they're the point
Yeah.
like we'll sell our souls to not get smacked by Ohio State every year like we did for 20 years basically, minus the 11 game. Well, Nevada, I think we can wrap this thing up. Another good show. Super Leagues, big practice tomorrow, so we'll get a report up on that. Your thoughts, Nevada, on everything that went on today, and thank you for the great super chats. Wrap this thing up, Nevada.
Well, thank you guys so much. If you want to do us one more favor, you can hit that little thumbs up there that gives us a like, helps people find the show, helps people get it appears on their recommended page, and also spring game, Buffalo Wild Wings pregame. If you're gonna have a tailgate, have the tailgate at Buffalo Wild Wings. Meet Bert Carton, wear your gear. You might get a beer, and hopefully we'll see all you guys then.
Are you yeah, it's gonna be a really good time. So, and also in the chat as I wrap this thing up, let me know if you guys are coming to the event April 13th. Just trying to get like a little soft head count. So, go ahead, toss that in the chat if you guys plan on showing up. I'd love to see you guys. As always, thank you for making this a huge episode. It's a huge episode because you guys made it one. So thank you for that. It's great being here. It's great seeing you guys as always in the chat. The chat is very active tonight. So thank you guys for that. If you guys enjoy the content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate all you guys do to help grow this channel. It is exploding in growth, and it's all thanks to you guys. With that being said, shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. Shout out my Southern Ohio boys. If any of you guys had any damage from the tornadoes yesterday, we're thinking about you. It seemed like it wasn't quite as bad in Columbus, but I know a little further south it was a little rough. So we're thinking about you guys. So I hope everyone is safe. And again, thank you guys always for tuning in and kicking with us. That being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. We are going to talk to you tomorrow. Go Bucks. All right, Jim, I caught this, so you're lucky. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the 20. Hey, Kirk, who was the guy on your team similar to Lattimore in the movie The Program? The guy that had a few screws loose, the guy that looked like, wow, he might actually murder someone on the field. Probably Kudla. Kudla was a big, jacked up dude, strong dude. God bless his soul. Probably Mike Kudla for sure. I think I said that scene to him about 1,000 times because he was the big, jacked up dude, strong as can be. Played defensive end just like Latimer did. So it had to be Mike Kudla easily. Now, he didn't have screws loose, but he was a different cat. I miss Mike. God bless his soul. He's gone now, but it'd be Mike Kudla. So, Jim, I appreciate you, my man. Looking forward to seeing you at Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm glad I caught this before I turned the episode off. Appreciate you, brother. Have a great night. Go Bucks.